Yo, it's your boy Cam Meekins. Episode number 27 of the Cam Meekins Show. We in here live in the studio. I got my guy Dylan Reese in the building.
What's good?
What's going on, Dylan?
Chilling, man.
Man, I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to have you in here.
I'm excited to be
here.
I
was just telling you how I'm just loving the vibe of these in-person situations because there's a couple different reasons. One, I think it makes for a great podcast. But two, it's just a new way to like socially reconnect with people after the pandemic.
For sure.
Like so many of these episodes that I've done have turned into like a week from now being on some like, yo, what you doing? Like, let's get together.
Yep.
And so I feel like coming out of the pandemic, it's just such a dope situation overall. So how you been?
For sure.
It's good to see you, man.
It's
I haven't seen you
man.
in probably almost 2 years, I feel like, because of the pandemic.
I feel like I haven't seen anyone in 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Good. Can't complain, man.
Yeah.
It's enjoying LA life, trying to get my ass back on the road, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I missed that for sure, but
yeah, you were doing a lot of touring. So people that don't know, Dylan Reese, dope artist, producer. How else would you describe yourself?
Yeah. Artist, songwriter.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I wear a lot of hats, I guess. But
yeah. As do we all these days, right?
You kind of have to when you're independent and you want, control of what you're doing. So just a hustler at the end of the day. That's all it is.
How did you start getting on the road and doing shows and taking your act on the road?
So the very beginning was when I got to actually spend a lot of time with you on the tour. I forget the name of the tour, but it was Huey.
Was it the Huey one? Yeah.
It was Huey Mack, Futuristic, you, and TJ Hickey was open on that as well.
Shit, what was the name of that? That was the...
I can't think of it.
I want to say the Feel Good tour, but that was Swayze,
no,
I think.
It was Huey's album, so I apologize.
Things Change.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's what it was.
So me and TJ Hickey had the same manager at the time.
Yep.
Still my good friend, Matt Keene.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Matt Keene. I know him, New Hampshire guy.
Right. So when he got that tour, Matt was like, yo, I can't go. You should just go and quote-unquote tour manage for TJ because he kind of needs just a dude to be there, do merch, unload, just another, miscellaneous type of guy. You're obviously not a tour manager, but you can go learn some shit and maybe you end up with some relationships or whatever. It'd be a good experience. You're going to make no money. You just fucking go and just hang out, So
have some fun.
I just got out of college and I was living at my mom's house, had a studio in my basement. I was mixing for a ton of local artists, doing my own thing, trying to figure that out. So it was kind of a perfect timing for me to take that risk. And I had the time. It was no
What did you study in college?
Communication.
Okay.
It's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I played basketball and just hung out. I was a barber in college too. So I was just in my room cutting hair.
Damn, you were on the hustle.
Yeah, that's it. College was a waste of time. But so that was my first kind of taste of being on the road, was with you guys on that tour. And again, I wasn't performing, but we did 30-something shows, and I kind of got the groove of how things work. And then I also became I already knew you, but became more friends with you, became really good friends with Futuristic and Huey. Started working with them a bit. I did some shows with Futuristic after that because he was the homie, and it just kind of all cycled from that. Just I kind of realized, because I've never had a booking agent. I don't have anything really. It's just off of the strength of knowing people and
just relationships.
Them wanting to be yo, this could make sense for you. You want to do it? I go yes or no, and then it happens. But then the thing that really kicked it off was something called the virtual reality tour that we did. Me and Matt Keene booked it completely ourselves, and it was a miracle in a shit show. It was just the idea basically was I knew how to perform well, and I didn't have a ton of fans yet, but I knew I could it regionally do well. I could sell out Middle East and Boston. I could sell out in Western Mass where I grew up. I could sell out in Connecticut at the Space, if you've ever played there.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a tiny little place. No longer there, I don't think.
Really? That place is gone?
I think so.
Damn.
Yeah, but had some great shows in that room.
Yeah.
New York, I've played 3, 4, or 5 times at that point. So it was
Webster
I had a
Hall
little bit
downstairs.
Webster Hall, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was I had some pull there, not really anything anywhere else because I've just never done it. But I knew how to book a show, get local acts to come do the show, have, play that game, build that relationship. So the idea was, let's get 2 dudes that I'm friends with or could be or affiliated with in some way that are kind of in the same situation, but I've never toured and never really got to do that. And then see if we can put some shit together based on which regions we're strong in, and then just trade off basically.
Man, see, I love this story, and I want you to keep going, but I just want to say, like, the fact that you guys were just willing to just, like, you know, really think critically and hustle like that is the most inspirational part, I feel like, about your story, man. And, like, for people listening, it's just like, man, like, that energy to say, like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Like, I don't need a booking agent. I don't need, you know, anybody else to do this for me. Like, me and my team can go and literally call these promoters and figure it out. And if I'm not strong enough in this region, get another artist that's, you know, like, that's really just impressive and really smart.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of fun too. And it was a ton of work. But yeah, I mean, I just got sick of waiting for like a booking agent to hit me up and be like, you want to go do this and that? Because it was like, I know if I get the chance to hit a stage, whether there's 10 people there or 1,000 people there, I can impress some folks and bring home some fans, and then just do it again when I come back the next year or whatever, you know? Because I saw you guys do it.
Right.
On the Things Change tour, and just being around in Massachusetts and New England area. And because I think you were second of the 4 on that tour.
Yep.
And, like, you know, there was shows that were fucking awesome, and then there were shows that were really small. But I saw you go out there, even if there was 50 people, and, like, you know, some of your fans were there, some of them maybe didn't know you, and, like, you guys crushed it every time, and you made a fan, at least, like, a handful, whatever. Like, you have to go do that stuff.
Well, the biggest thing with shows like that is, like, whether you're playing in front of 1,000 people, which I've done, or you're playing in front of 15 people, which I've done, right?
For sure.
There's always an opportunity to, like, grow your brand and to have a great time.
Yeah.
And you're going to play a different show than if you're playing in front of 1,000 people. Your energy is, you know, you're trying to reach 1,000 people. So your energy needs to match that so that the person in the back can feel your energy.
Absolutely.
With a show with 15 people, you can reach each individual one of those people and actually make a real meaningful impact on their life that night, or, you know, longer, whatever it might be. And even after the show, you can chop it up with people. You know, it's anyone who gets discouraged from the idea of, like, you know, a low amount of people showing up to a show, you shouldn't look at it like that, because every single situation is an opportunity.
For sure.
In that stage of your career.
Well, you got to learn that the hard way too.
Right.
You know,
but I think some people go out there and they're, like, you know, trying to be Hollywood, especially in this social media age where, you know, the confidence is, like, conflated by these numbers that don't necessarily correlate to, like, real human beings that want to stand there and watch you perform.
For sure.
And, you know, coming up in the era that I did, and you too, you had to prove your chops live before you built a following.
Yeah.
You
I
had
was
to
doing
go
shows
do
before
shows.
Spotify even launched.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And so, you know, I had Leeds Entertainment on the podcast, right? Talking about the Boston music scene of, like, local hip-hop, independent hip-hop promoters putting on shows. So Big Sean comes to town.
Yep.
That's a big deal for the Middle East, which is the really famous music venue in Boston, 500 capacity room, like, classic place. Mac Miller sold it out 2 nights back-to-back. Epic venue. Big Sean comes into town. I get to do 3 songs before Big Sean, before anybody knew who I was. There was 500 people in that room, and I'm this, you know, kind of geeky-looking white kid coming out and just, you know, shutting the show down. People went crazy.
Yep.
And that got me so many fans early on in my career. Yeah. And you build that, and it's brick by brick. You know, that doesn't happen anymore, because now you can do all that on social media, which is amazing.
Right.
It's just different phases, the different, you know, just eras, right?
Yep.
And not one, you know, one isn't better than the other necessarily.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, these days, the followers you get so quickly from TikTok or whatever doesn't necessarily correlate to live show success.
They become very passive more often than not.
Right.
Because maybe they saw your video or whatever, and they're like, oh, that was cool, I'm going to follow this dude. But, like, they paid attention to you for, like, a minute or less.
Right.
Or even if it was a music video, 3 minutes, and they're like, yeah, sick. But if they saw your show live and saw you rock for 20 minutes or whatever, and, like, shook your hand and took a photo, or saw you interact with other people, like, literally in front of your face, they're going to remember that a lot more than, because how many times you're scrolling by shit all day.
Yeah.
You're not going to become a super fan of every video you ever see.
Right.
You know?
And if you just have like, a couple things going on like that on social media, that you might not have enough of a catalog to do a full show too. Right. And so, and this isn't like hating on that generation of artists. It's advice to say like, build out your live show chops.
Do both.
Because it's so advantageous to learn how to like make music that correlates to live shows.
Yep.
When I started doing shows, I realized like, oh, I could make songs that sound like this that would do really well live. And like my boy Swayze is like a genius at that.
Sure.
And I knew more of Swayze's music because I toured with him a couple times. I knew his music from the shows, not from the record.
Yep.
So then after our tours, I'd go back and listen to the songs on the record,
and then be like, "That's why he did that on that hook." Or
whatever. Exactly. And then, but I'm hearing it how I'm hearing it live.
Yeah.
And I'm loving the live version because the energy is so crazy, and he'll have different parts where like you'll change up the words a little bit on the live show to make it interactive or something like that, and stuff like that is what music is about at the end of the day.
Totally.
Right. And so it's this cool time right now where people are coming back and they really want to fucking do shit again.
Yeah.
Because they've been so bored for the last year.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see this like renaissance period of creativity correlating over to live shows and shit like that. So, I'm excited to see where the people of this new generation take live performance, because I don't think it's been seen yet.
Right. They haven't had an opportunity in the past 16 months or whatever.
Exactly.
So, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that tour that we did kind of self-booked, going back to that, it's called Virtual Reality. I did it with Abstract and Ryan Oakes, which were literally kids I never met in my life, and I only knew them from the internet. So we kind of became friends on the internet and have collabed and would get posted on like Swaggy Tracks, Promoting Sounds, like those type of stuff. So I feel like there was a little bit of crossover between all three of us, but also like we had, like I said, Ryan is from Virginia, I'm from Northeast, Abstract's from Wyoming and lived in Seattle and lived in Arizona. So like we got to pick and choose and like swap, 4 or 5 shows each, and we put together a run. I think it ended up being like 22 shows total, but we just booked shit because we were driving by and it was like, let's just see if they'll give us a door deal at this 150 cap venue. Why not? And just see what happens, right? So,
how did you guys find these venues? I mean, I know some of it was probably like being on the road, so you knew a couple of them maybe.
Because that was before I really did anything outside of the Northeast other than going with you guys and not performing and watching. But a lot of it was just me and Matt being on the internet and just finding Facebook pages of venues, or like go look at like, Air did these shows, however many years ago when they were like this size. Look at their ticket links and be like, what was the venue? It was like reverse engineered entirely. Like we had no business doing that tour basically, but we just made it happen.
I don't see it that way. It sounds like you guys had all the business doing that tour because
I guess so,
but I think that's like the lesson for people who are listening. It's like, don't wait on somebody else to do that work for you.
Yeah.
A manager or, a booking agent or, whatever you think you need as a creative to like give yourself an excuse as to like why you're not doing something. You're the perfect example of fuck that.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure in the early days of your career, people probably were like, nah, like you're not going to do shit. You know what I'm saying?
Of course,
like, no, like
all of us
I don't
that.
care about Dylan Reese's, music, like whatever, but that didn't stop you from saying, I'm going to put this shit out. I'm going to get on the road. And once you start to have that success and you have the Spotify numbers and you have the legitimacy, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody comes around and is like, bro, you're on the grind.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
And again, man, like that's when I look at what you've done in your career, like having, known you now for a long time and just kind of seeing your come up and everything like that, that's what I see. It's like, just that grind and the vision to see it and just go step by step and grow organically, brick by brick, regardless of whether or not a label is going to come in and help out or anybody else is, because you don't need any of that as an independent artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. And thank you for saying that. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
but even before that tour and all that, like guys like you and Sammy and Air, mostly because of being from Massachusetts, but you guys were kind of like however much time ahead of me in like getting to go do the road and having a song that does crazy numbers or whatever. And I would see all you guys and be like, yeah, I can do that, and I'm about to do that. But it's just a matter of like getting the look or creating the opportunity, so to speak. So that was kind of like what we did.
Well, it's the same shit that I was doing, dude. I mean, that's the exact same mentality that I had when I started doing this shit. And, you know, I just started putting music out on YouTube and Facebook and growing it in my little town and then the towns around me. And then Dat Piff was a big thing.
Yeah, dude.
And good music all day.
Yep.
And, you know, it can absolutely happen no matter what you're trying to do. It can happen if you are relentless and you like set your goals and just go and execute on them.
Sure.
And if they don't work out, you don't give up. You keep going to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Like that is the only determiner of whether or not you're going to be successful in something. I strongly believe that.
Can't ever stop. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Either you fucking achieve that thing or you die and you're not there to know that you didn't achieve the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. So we did the virtual reality tour. Some shows we had 200 kids in a city we've never been at, and it was fucking sick. And you know, sometimes we had really good locals who would kill it and bring 40 of their friends and like would be, you know, fans of us or like whatever, and it'd be awesome. Some shows were a complete disaster, and there were 6 people at it, and there was no production manager or door guy at the venue, and we literally had to do everything ourselves, and like we didn't get paid, and like it was literally a wide spectrum of emotions and experiences of just being out there, like eating shit and just learning as you go.
What was like the craziest shit that went down? It's hard to say because I know a lot of crazy shit goes on.
Yeah, and I've done like 4 or 5 tours since then. But we had a show in Detroit, which none of us have been to, and it was at the Shelter. No,
is that where Eminem was doing the battles?
That was where I went with you guys. We played at the Shelter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it was I don't remember what it was, but it was one of those shows where we had literally zero expectations because it was just we were going from Chicago to Minnesota or something, and it was like, let's just try, and they said yes, and there's no guarantee, but we can make whatever and just see what happens. The show ended up being fucking crazy, and I have like literally have no idea why. And it wasn't just like the locals killed it, because they definitely did. They helped, obviously. But, like, by the time my set happened or, like, Ryan's set, like, people know the words of, like, our songs and shit. And we were just like, who are these people? Because we didn't get any tweets about this. Like, we pulled up to the venue like, there's going to be no one here.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be one of those days where you kind of go through the motions and, like, you're having full conversations with the front row doing stand-up before I sing my R&B ballad. And, it was so lit. It was the most fun show.
Why do you think that is? Was it like the promoter did a really good job?
I still don't know the answer. But
just God had you.
Tyler Baltiera and Caitlin, his wife, they were on Teen Mom. Still are on Teen Mom.
Okay.
They were there somehow.
Yeah.
I think they were like either fans or friends with Abstract or something.
Okay.
So like they were hanging out in the green room. They were like going crazy. We went out with them after. Really cool people. So like kind of made friends with them.
Yeah.
And it was just like at sound check at 5:00, we were like discouraged and like, why are we even doing this fucking tour? Like, why are we here? You know, like I'm on the phone with Matt. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's like we're like losing money for some of the nights. I'm fucking exhausted. Like I'm doing so much work, you know, and it's like this was like a bad idea. And then by next morning, he called me. He was like, "How was last night?" And because he's like, I got the email with like the ticket sales and like I saw what you guys made and like I saw. He's like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'm like, "Bro, I don't know, but we're on our way to Minnesota. It was fucking awesome, so we're just gonna keep it going." So well, it was like a turning point in all of our mentalities. We're like, yeah, this is fun. Who cares? You know?
Well, it's such a up and down when you're on a tour.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's not just the highs of doing a show and the excitement and the fun that it is being in the venue and it's a big party and everybody's having a good time and you're drinking, but there's the grinding it out of the 12-hour drives. Hangover,
shitty motels,
depression, and
not showering.
Yeah, shitty hotels and
eating at a gas station.
Yeah, Subway.
Oh, Subway and Chipotle, like that's all it was.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot that goes into it beyond
for sure
the show, because there's that 16 hours in between the two shows.
And granted, I'm not complaining about being on tour. It's what I love the most.
No, I think it's interesting to give people a look into what goes into it, especially when you're independent, grinding it out as a career.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously, if you're fucking Justin Bieber or
it's a different. You're not doing the same thing.
It's and like, don't get me wrong, like guys like that, like their schedule is crazy, for sure.
Right.
But you're staying at the 5-star hotel. You got the private jet. You got the tour bus.
Yeah.
It's a good lifestyle.
He has hundreds of people employed.
Right.
Doing all the little things.
You can still get sad
that we're doing.
You can still get sad because
everybody can
all
get
that
sad.
stuff doesn't take away real life problems.
Yeah.
But
the physical grind is different.
Well, and when people think of a tour, they think of that. They think of the tour bus and the rock star lifestyle and shit like that. But that's like 1% of the artists out there. Even artists that you think are like really successful and amazing are still grinding out these tours a lot of times. Yeah. And they're doing great, and they're coming home and they're making a lot of money, and it's a great way for artists to make a living and subsidize their income, because artists keep all that money.
Right.
A lot of times if an artist has a label, they're splitting that money, but the touring is theirs.
For sure. So it's been a whirlwind, and after that tour, my whole thing was like, I just want to use this as like a resume builder and a learning experience. Like, I don't care if we lose money, if we break even, fuck it. We just have to do this. Because again, I was sick of waiting for people to call me and be like, you want to do this?
Yeah.
'Cause nobody was calling me. And so I used that as like just that. And now, you get a certain offer, you meet somebody and they go look up your tour history, and you've done a 22 city nationwide, co-headlining tour. Even if the ticket sales aren't crazy, it's like, oh, you've done this before. You can add value, at least in theory, to what I'm doing. So I want to bring you on my tour, Mm-hmm. So that was just basically what happened. And then I got asked to do a handful of stuff, and, I went with the Hold Up 2019.
Yep.
He's amazing. He goes by Michael Garmany now. He's become one of my close friends, like, at least on the music shit. Like, we're definitely boys at this point. And he just found my Spotify and was like, hey, I need somebody to come on the road. I think you're dope. I hate everyone's music, but I don't hate yours. So you want to do this tour? I'm like, absolutely.
Say less.
So we did that. One of the shows we did on that tour was with another band called Catastro. They're super dope. They've been touring for a decade. They're from Phoenix. Really cool dudes. Met them at that show. Show was crazy. That was in Denver, I believe. They went on tour a few months after ours ended. Asked me to come with them. I did their tour right after. I did another futuristic tour in between those. So like 2019, I was on tour for like 7-8 months of the year. And that was kind of the first time I was really in that groove of like, all right, I'm on tour. Now I have time where I'm off tour to work on my album because I have another tour booked. And it was like a really cool time for me because like I said, I've never had an agent, and it's so hard to like find that type of work if you don't have someone that's literally what their job is.
Yeah.
So that was a great year. I did the album. That killed it, and I was really feeling good about going into 2020 and like capitalizing on that momentum on the live side, because it's a whole different game. It's like you could stream your ass off and not get a single call for a show, or vice versa.
For sure.
So it's like,
for sure.
I was happy that I was kind of doing both separately, but also at the same time simultaneously, and they were starting to connect where it was like I could see people that were coming from the shows coming over to socials, and then people that were more just streaming music or on my Instagram being more interested in wanting to go see me live. So it was like, and then all the bullshit happened. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know where it's at now because everything's just flipped on its head.
Well, I think the good thing is that the demand is there right now for anything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, when some people that were in your network wanted to come to a show, now it's like most of them do.
Yeah. For sure.
So you might have a bigger group of people that are actually interested in.
Well, I hope that's true, because I would love to do it. So waiting for a call, but
yeah, no, I hear you.
Love to get back out there.
Right. Well, I'm sure you will, because it seems like you have that drive in you to figure it out, whether or not you get that call or not. Right. Where does that come from, do you think, for you?
just not having like a choice otherwise, I guess, because again, I've done what I'm doing now for such a long time with little results outside of like just New England, because like right off the bat, I was making music in high school, and there was a lot of people just in terms of my friends that like wanted to listen to it. So I never had that situation where dude starts rapping and he's like 25 and then he gets 2 likes on his Instagram and he's like depressed and he's like, no one cares. Like I always had at least my homies and like their homies that gave a shit. And I feel like you probably had something similar when you were starting out, but that's just off of, I have friends in high school and people were like interested.
Yeah, and you're just making music kind of with your friends. Yeah, and they're consuming it and shit like that. And it's kind of almost this social thing in a way.
Exactly. But like I was bad at making music, like literally bad. Like you can't tell me that I wasn't bad. It was just fucking horrible. So I don't even know how like people were like tolerating it, to be honest. But once I start getting good is when you're not in high school anymore, and some of those people that are just there because it's somewhere to go party at the show, or like the cool thing to do is put Dylan's song on in the car.
Yeah, right.
They are now we're 22, 23, 24, like that shit's over. So it's like now I have like a little, I guess, fan base in Massachusetts, but outside of that, nobody gives a shit, and no one's gonna give a shit unless I like literally give them no choice. So I just started dropping music nonstop. You know, I did the Rust thing, you know, of like dropping music every 7 to 10 days. I did that for like 3 years.
And was this on Spotify?
Yeah, everywhere.
So how much did your Spotify grow from when you decided I'm going to start dropping music?
Oh, dude. That was in 2015. So I had literally 0 listeners. And by the time I like stopped doing that, I put out my first like full project, 2017, the Vanilla album. I think I maybe had like 60 or 70,000 monthly, which like at the time was like,
that's huge.
There's fucking people listening to me right now. Like, what's going on?
That's huge.
You know?
That's being a career artist.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Right. Because even now, if like you look, it's like, I think I'm at like 90K, something like that.
Yeah.
But the streams and like the catalog, it's like way more than like what you would think, because there's so much music, and like it's actually a solid group of people that want to listen to me, not I was on this playlist and it was a passive thing, and it's like I had one hot song for 3 months and then it was over with. Like the streaming numbers fluctuate so much, and I've just learned to like not even worry about it and just make shit that I think is tight. And it's so out of your control. We're all just fighting an algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, I think that like,
who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I struggle with this all the time. I feel like we're constantly trying to measure the shit that actually doesn't matter at all.
Totally.
You know? I'm more concerned about whether or not I'm going to get an Instagram follower than I'm going to get a stream on my song.
Right.
And that's just because your ego gets into it. And we conflate social media with actual tangible success to like the thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's not, for some people, it correlates for sure, but it's not necessarily relevant. What's relevant is the work.
Yeah.
You know, being in the studio or getting it done or whatever. And I constantly am having that battle and trying to remember that, you know, you can measure all these things as a creative person in this day and age when you have all these different social medias. And if you're a musician, you're putting music out on Spotify and Apple Music, and there's all these analytics. And, you know, and you can go down a rabbit hole thinking that those pieces of data mean something.
Yeah.
And that you can interpret it and then kind of change your course in a way that, you know, makes an impact. And maybe you can if you're like a really great data scientist and a rapper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's some people out there probably that maybe can do that and kind of growth hack the algorithm. But at the end of the day, like, we're artists, right? You know, making music is what matters, and putting it out consistently is the best thing for your data.
Right. And
I think that a lot of this stuff is just a distraction at the end of the day, like looking at the numbers OD like that. And again, it's a, you know, easier said than done type of situation, because when you see those numbers in front of you, you just want to look at it like, oh, are my monthly listeners going up, or are they going down, or whatever?
Yep.
I think as a creative, you know, this applies to any number of things, and the music is just the example. you got to remember what the actual thing you do is.
Yeah.
And do that thing.
Yep.
And I feel like people like Russ, you know what I'm saying, and people who are extremely successful in this lane that we're talking about, the reason that they're so successful is because they're focused on that one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, everything's going to follow it naturally if it's good enough. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a matter of time and when, or like some weird things happen and you get lucky. You know, like you said off camera, what was it? Luck favors.
Luck bets on people that are in motion.
That's great. I don't think I've heard that before, but that's great.
It does.
Yeah.
Because
it's absolutely true.
If you're doing shit, you know, I mean, that doesn't mean to like, you know, just like work hard and not try and think strategically.
Right.
But, you know, it's better than sitting on your ass.
You have to create the luck in some degree.
Exactly.
It's not like, because when people hear lucky, they're like, it's like random. Like,
right.
You got picked out of a fucking hat to be a rap star.
Right. And what I take from that saying is that it's just about putting yourself in positions where opportunities are.
Yeah, for sure.
Meeting people, putting yourself physically in the location where good things can happen to you. You are who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with 5 fucking idiots, you're a fucking idiot too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, that's just the fact.
So I've just been trying to not be an idiot my whole life. that's pretty much.
Aren't we all?
The long answer to your question of like where that drive comes from.
Right.
I'm just trying not to be an idiot, basically.
But was that something that you felt like you had in high school? Like, were you a good student, or were you like, I'm trying to get on this rap shit, and then it just kind of cycled from there?
Well, I just think I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset, even before I could spell that word, which I don't think I can still. But before I even knew I was like hustling in that way and creating my own situation, that's what I was doing. Like, I've never had a job ever. I've never worked a 9-to-5 or a day job or even a part-time job somewhere. I've never worked for anywhere else.
Good for you.
But that's just because I just didn't want to, and I just found a way to make it work otherwise. Like I said, in high school and in college, I was a barber. That was my hustle. That was my like, this. If I want to have money just to even go out to eat and hang out with my friends, or like go on a date, or like, you know, save some cash in my bank when you're 17, when like you don't really need money for anything. That was how I was getting it. Oh, you guys need haircuts? My mom taught barber school.
That's what I was gonna say. Where'd you learn how to cut hair?
Yeah, so like, my mom was a hairstylist and a barber when I was like a little kid. So I like grew up in a barbershop essentially, because I was going to work with her because there was nowhere else for me to be, and I was 4 years old, and I was just around that. So, you know, when I'm 13, 14, and I just want a fresh lineup every day, my mom is like, I'm not fucking cutting your hair every day. Get over yourself. It doesn't matter, which is true. She was like, I'm just going to teach you how to give yourself a lineup so you don't look nuts and you can stop complaining. So that's what she did. She basically taught me the basics of how to use clippers and like what to look for and all that. And it was like, obviously I wasn't fucking good, so I was practicing on myself, and I'd have fucked up lineups in, you know, 7th grade.
That's gotta be hard too, because when you're doing it yourself, you're doing it backwards, right? I mean,
right, yeah.
And you can't see
I mean, I could do it now, but it's like.
So do you cut your own hair?
No, just because.
It's just not worth the effort.
I just don't want to. Yeah, but I've done it many times. Believe me.
Some things you need to delegate.
Yeah, it's like I can go to the barbershop. It's it's $30. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was basically like I would have kids in the neighborhood that would just let me practice on them. Like, yo, I'll do it for free. Like, just let me practice. And then by a year, I was pretty solid. And by the time I was in college, I was like a legitimately good barber. Like, I was cutting every person that went to my college. And because I went to Regis in Weston.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like a small private school. But it was, when I went there, I think it was like 82% women or something stupid. So, like, there wasn't a lot of dudes there.
It's a good ratio for you.
That's, yeah, definitely part of the reason why I went there to begin with. But there was no one there. So, every dude, I was cutting their hair. Like, literally, you go to the cafeteria, all my work just sitting there. So, it was
just
fun.
Looking at there, it's just like, yep, that was me.
Yeah, literally. So, it's like, by the time sophomore year happened, it was like, I wasn't going to class, man. I was just cutting hair, getting my work done that I needed to do. Doing the bare minimum of school, and I was making music in my dorm, and that was like, this is what I'm going to do after college. I'm going to try to learn some shit and set myself up where I can do that as a career by the time I get out, but I don't give a shit about this degree. I'm just like, having fun, hustling, stacking bread. And that was like the whole mentality. So once I got out of school, I had learned enough to like mix and master my own music. And that's when I went back home to my parents' house, started my studio literally in my parents' basement. And I was basically the studio for Western Mass. Like I had 20, 30 clients that were consistent, always recording at my house. That's how I was doing that. So I didn't have a job after college. And then, yeah, it turned into everything we're doing now, touring, streaming, whatever it is, merch, all the whole deal.
Yeah. I feel like we're coming into this really cool time, partly because of the pandemic, partly because of the way social media has gone and just the way that we consume shit now. So many people are able to do exactly what you're talking about. You were a little bit early on it in terms of just saying like, no, I'm not gonna work a normal job. Like if I was gonna make like $50,000 working some normal job, like I can figure out another way to get to $50,000.
Oh yeah.
And then you do that, and then it's like, well, then now I can figure out another way to get to 75,000.
Yeah.
I can figure out another way to get to 90.
Yeah.
And build it kind of, and it's tough, and different people are in different circumstances.
Right.
But it's really cool to see that like there's so many different paths now to get money that don't include working for some bullshit corporation or some 9-to-5 or some minimum wage job.
Especially when you've already done the work of loading up your tool belt of skills, and you can add value to people's situation one way or another.
Well, that's the exact way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say I opened my studio, you wanted to be an artist. But you had 30 clients that you were mixing and mastering because you added value to that situation, and you knew that, okay, if I can supplement my income by doing that, I'm doing the thing that I love, then I can put that time in to make my music.
And that was the years, because I graduated college 2015.
Right.
That was like the years where I started dropping once a week.
Yeah.
So I was still making a shit ton of music myself.
Right.
But like my everyday was waking up. I got this guy coming in at 10 a.m. to 12. I got a break. Another guy's coming in at 2. Got him till 6. I'm making money all day and then thinking about everything after. So I was like, I was treating it as a 9-to-5 in terms of my schedule, but I didn't have to ask anybody.
Well, and you're staying in that creative headspace too, as opposed to working at fucking,
Yeah, D'Angelo's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
You're just like, damn, I don't want to be here.
Exactly. And then you're fucking tired by the end of it.
And I really respect everyone that's doing shit like that.
Of course.
And then still trying to do the creative thing. But I could not get my brain to do that because I was just I would be fucking miserable, man. Like I wouldn't even know how to make a song after that, So it's almost like the person that's doing that is more mentally strong than like what I was doing. It just might not be as efficient, I guess, is a way to see it.
No, 1,000%. And that's what's so interesting though, is that like now more so than ever, like there's just more opportunity. It doesn't mean that there's every opportunity in the world.
Right.
And sometimes situations are what they are, and you're working some bullshit job that sucks and you have to do it. But I don't think that we've seen in our lifetime a more prosperous time to go it your own way and figure out how to make a living. And so even if, that option is now open to 25% more people, that's still a huge increase and really exciting, because I think it also correlates to just overall happiness.
Yep.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that the reason that I think we're going down this trend is because communication is bigger than it's ever been. So we all know what it is at this point. And so we have been lied to for decades in this society that the key to happiness is go to school, go to college, get a job, have a family, buy one house, live in that house for 30 years.
Set up your 401k.
You know what I'm saying?
Retire at this age.
Yeah, right. And when you hit 65, that's when you can go and live your life.
Yeah. Which
if you are lucky enough to even make it that
sucks,
far.
Bro.
Right? And if you're lucky enough to even do any of those things that are all, systemically kind of corrupt and racist and all these different things that make it so much harder for so many different people. And so all of it has been a lie this whole entire time. But you don't necessarily know that when you're just hearing shit from your school and your town and your community. And when you're in a community, people want you to stay in that community because they didn't leave. Yeah. They didn't go out and do some other shit.
Yeah, dude.
They didn't follow their dreams.
Totally.
Right? But now we live in this new world where everyone's seeing what everyone else is doing, and you can kind of get that, pull the curtain back on that and be like, you know, I can do that. Someone else is doing something creative. I can do that. I can make my own clothing line. I can, you know, start this online business. I can do music.
Yeah.
You know?
I just think there's like two ways you can look at that. And I think there's two ways that people do look at it. Is like you see a guy with like a poppin' clothing line, for example.
Right.
And like people that have the perspective that we have is like, damn, that's fucking dope. Like he figured out a way to do that. If I wanted to do that, I could do it. That's what that means, because we're all humans and have access to shit. Right. And like, you know, maybe that guy's smarter than me or has a relationship, but you can seek that knowledge or meet that person or whatever. Like it's possible to do that. And you can apply that, you know, relatively to whatever it is your thing is. And then there's other people that see that and they're like, oh, like, why is he doing that? Like, who does he know that got, like, he got to do that? And now I'm not, like, nobody can do that. Like, it's because of this and that, and we don't have that.
Right. And even if that person did have some extreme privilege that allowed them to get there a lot easier than someone else, someone else could still...
There's another path.
There's another path. Like, everybody's path to success is extremely different. And someone's is so fucking easy, and another is so fucking hard that it's almost impossible.
Sure.
Right? And then sometimes life happens, and you don't get there. But that's the risk that all of us live every single day. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow.
But wouldn't you rather do that?
I'd rather be on the journey.
Right.
And even if it's not working out.
Have it not work, no matter and be what. Like, oh, okay, I changed my mind.
I'd rather end up fucking homeless on the street following what I'm trying to do than give up and be like, I don't know what it could have been.
Right. And then I'll just go work for a company that doesn't care about me and just not have anything that I'm working towards, basically.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, 1,000%. But, yeah, man, so I just feel like because of that, you know, kind of pulling the curtain back thing that I was talking about, more people are getting into that shit. Even in my own network, I'm seeing people that I knew that were, you know, traditionally working in normal jobs, transition into like running their own small business or, you know, doing their own thing or trying to be an artist or, you know, whatever they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And, or like, you know, people are getting on fucking OnlyFans and making like $100,000, you know, get your money.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of ways to get money. Let's move this money around and let's young creative people, let's get that money. Mm-hmm. It's a cool time because of all that.
Yeah.
And I think the only other thing on that is like, there's two sides to that coin because the access to seeing all of that, a lot of it's like kind of fake too, the social media stuff.
Sure.
And so then that side of it kind of fucks with your head.
Or just less interesting in general.
Right.
Because it's like, yeah, cool video or photo, like I already saw that 30 times.
Yeah, right.
So I just always think the cream rises, and that's, you know, we both know that, I think. That's just,
yeah, for sure. And
good
you know,
shit's always going to stand out no matter what it is.
Exactly. And, you know, people always are always talking about Instagram's a highlight reel or this and that, and there's a lot of truth to that. But it's just about keeping your wits about you in this weird world that we live in now, where we're more connected to our device and to the outside world than we are one-on-one, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, which is why I like doing this podcast, because it forces me to not be like that for an hour.
Right.
Yeah. So when did you come out to LA in the mix of all this story?
2017. So basically I was waiting for Bobby Hobart, who I know you know, and you came to our old
Bobby. Meekins show, you've been on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you came to our first house here in the Valley to do his podcast. Yep. So that was 2017, it must have been. I was waiting for him to graduate from college. He's a year behind me.
Did you guys grow up together?
We've been best friends since we were 6 years old.
I didn't realize that. I think I knew that, but I forgot that was that connection.
So even like I did a tour in 2015 with On Cue and Henderson, and like me and Bobby just jumped in the car and just did it. He was kind of tour managing, aka getting hammered and doing my merch, and
well, that's pretty much what tour managing entails.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my fucking brother. Like we couldn't be closer if we were actually related. So I was waiting for him to graduate because he always wanted to move out. And my whole thing when I was at my parents' house for that timeline, I was just stacking money. You know, lucky to have them and to have them support me in terms of like, you don't have to pay rent, stay here. I know you got something you're working towards, so like stack your money, go do your thing. So once he graduated, he took another year to kind of do the same thing and prepare himself. So he stayed in Boston, was driving Uber, started his podcast, kind of had a moment of realization of like, this is what I want to do. So then we both had something to come out here and like network and make shit happen, right? So like even before we moved, we came out here and we stayed at Huey's crib because I've known him since from the tour and whatnot. And shout out to him for letting us crash on his couch.
Hell yeah.
So we did that, came out for maybe 7-10 days. I was shooting 2 music videos with Jordan Wazzy, who is now doing 100 other things visually. He's a super talented dude. So I was doing that. He came out and it was like, I'm just going to try to do as many podcasts as I can while I'm out west, meet some people, maybe get a few recommendations or from other people that I know, just like mutual friends, whatever. So we were just like crushing it for those 7-10 days. And then we got back. He was like, all right, I'm ready to move. Like whenever you are, like, let's just be there and like kind of be in that headspace and have access to shit every day. And I guarantee you we'll just start crushing it. Right. So we moved out to the Valley, lived with my homie Steve, who I still live with now on the other side of town. But I knew him from college. We played college hoops together at Regis. He's originally from Palmdale, though, so he was already out here. So he moved to L.A. with us, got a crib. That was the content crib, as everyone knew it, because everybody was making shit. Steve does 5-star vintage clothing. He has a Instagram website, all that. He sells vintage clothing online.
Yeah, I remember being there, and he there was some dope shit going on, like a fucking gallery in there.
He's got all the fire. Anytime I'm doing anything, I have to shoot or whatever, I just go in the garage and just have at it. It's fucking great. So that's my guy. So yeah, we lived there in the Valley for 2 years and just basically grinded, dude. And just Bob was still doing Uber at that time, doing the pod. I was figuring out my shit, figuring out how to stay on the road and put out music. I did like my first distro deal from being out here and just meeting people. Just to always evolving and like trying to learn what the next thing is, I guess. But yeah, so I've been out here 4 years almost at this point, which is like crazy because that feels.
You feel like you'll stay out here, like you feel like you planted your seed here, and
yeah,
something always calls you back to Boston.
No, I won't live on the East Coast again. I can't do the snow.
Really?
Yeah, no.
So where else would it be then?
The thing is, I don't really give a shit because people always ask me, it's like, you want to stay in LA forever? It's like, if it makes sense to, sure. But I have a studio in my house.
Right.
I have everything I need, like, where I live. So it's like, if I have that, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went out to Nashville a couple weeks ago to work with Abstract because he just moved out there, and, like, I'd be like, yo, I would live here as long as we have a studio. It's like, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to be in the snow. So it's like, whatever's fine with me. But I'm staying here for now because it's like, it's helpful. We can do shit like this. I know a ton of people here now. My roommate situation is great. Like, we're all hanging out and just kind of enjoying, our 20s. And
how many people do you live with?
Me, Steve, and my other homie Dan just moved in with us because Bob moved to Venice. He just wanted to live in Venice, and he was like, you guys want to move to Venice? We're like, we don't give a shit about Venice. So
shit, man, I wouldn't want to be in Venice right now.
Yeah, I'm all set. But he has a dope spot, and he loves his situation, and I still see him all the time. I talked to him this morning. It's all gravy. But yeah, so it's just 3 of us. We have a 4-bedroom house. It's a good situation. That 4th bedroom is my studio. Yeah. So it's like, we got space. The weather's good. We can all afford it. We're comfortable, kind of, and it's like, it's good. So there's no reason to move, but if there was one, I would. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it.
Yeah, I hear you. When I was in the pandemic, I just realized, like, LA is such a interesting place. When the amenities that come along with the city aren't there, you sit here and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. That's exactly how we were looking at it. Is like, this is like kind of stupid to be living here and paying all this money
when it's so expensive, and for what?
Can't even leave our house.
Right.
But, we knew kind of that was going to go back to somewhat normal at some point. And, it just opened up 2 days ago, whatever that means. And
have you noticed any difference now that the
No.
Reopening has happened? A lot of states I feel like have now reopened. California just reopened.
I was just
capacity's
at a
back to 100%, I guess.
Yeah, I was just at a restaurant 2 hours ago, and they said, "Yeah, you still gotta wear a mask in our restaurant."
Yeah, well, that's what I'm feeling like. I feel like,
I'm not gonna argue with you. Like,
I went to the grocery store this morning and I saw a sign that was like, "Please wear a mask. All people must wear a mask." And then under it said, "Vaccinated people don't have to wear a mask."
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm vaccinated. Like, do you want to see my card? Or
it's so arbitrary, right?
It's like,
yeah,
who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But I think it'll be back soon enough.
Yeah, I think it's something that takes a little bit of time for people to I feel like some people aren't realizing that we're back open now.
Yeah, definitely. People don't even.
And so these habits have been built up. You go into a store, you wear a mask. And I probably still will wear a mask for a while just because it's like, I don't have time to get a cold or anything else
My thing
either.
is, I just don't
I don't mind that lifestyle. I know the mask thing is very fucking polarizing. And I get that. And I don't really care if you wear a mask or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, at the height of the pandemic, I cared.
Right.
But right now, it's like, I don't care if you do or you don't. But you shouldn't care if someone else does either.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
That's like the shit that's like annoying, but it's like at the same time, I'm just going to put it on because I don't want to ever make anyone else feel uncomfortable, even if I don't agree with what they're uncomfortable about.
Right.
Because if you're vaccinated and I'm vaccinated, isn't that kind of the fucking point of a vaccination?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it should be good now.
For sure.
So it's like, I'll just wear it until I see everyone not wear it, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I hear you.
It is what it is.
I hear you. Yeah. I don't know why it became such a statement for, kind of political.
Right. I was going to say, it feels like it kind of represented like the whole
right or left.
Yeah. It's like, how does that represent?
Well, I think it got polarized by Trump for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so then it became something where it's like, oh, and that's what kind of sucks about America right now is like something happens and people are like, oh, got to pick a side.
Generalizations.
Got to pick a side.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an issue now that has two sides. You got to pick a side.
Right.
No room for reasonable conversation. No room for what are we actually talking about. Pick a side. Left's here. Right's here.
Yep.
We fucking hate each other. I mean, it's just so frustrating when we're talking about a fucking mask that everybody, I don't care what your political views are. That's a pretty straightforward thing that you can kind of
it's not hard to do.
Discuss and just understand what the reason is.
Yeah.
But once it becomes political, everything's out the window. Because for some people, it's not about what the thing is. It's just about the fact that it's become political.
Right.
Yeah,
it's insane. But hopefully we're good to go soon. What do you think you'll be here for a long time or even the next few years, or what do you think?
Yeah, I like LA, man. I like my lifestyle out here.
Yeah.
I think that, it's interesting seeing all of the comments about, oh, LA, people are moving out. People want to move to places with no state income tax and shit like that. I think all of that stuff is interesting and I like discussing it because I'm interested in that kind of shit. And I don't think there's really like a right answer.
Right.
I think if you're good with your money and you're strategically making a decision to move somewhere where there's no income tax, that's a really smart move.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people who talk like that aren't actually making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so
it's the same shit.
Well, this is the thing, right? So the California state income tax is bracketed, right? So if you make like $40,000, your state income tax is like 0 to 1%.
Right.
And these numbers are probably way off. So I'm just talking broadly, right?
Yeah.
And you make 80, it's 2 to 5, and you make 120 and it's 5 to 8 or whatever. The top income earners, I think it's greater than like 250,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Are getting taxed like 13% in the state. So if you're actually making a lot of money, that affects you.
Totally.
And so if you're
like
trying to be
like Rogan or someone like that,
right?
It's like,
exactly.
I get it.
And so if you're Joe Rogan, and you're making $100 million, right? You buy let's just say like you buy
a fucking city in Texas,
right? You buy a crazy house, right, in Texas, and you're making that much money. You're getting taxed $13 million this year, right? So that house pays for itself.
It's a difference. Like that actually makes a difference.
That house pays for itself.
For sure.
And even on a smaller scale, like if you buy a house in one of these tax-free zones and you're someone who really earns that much money, it pays for itself. But you have to be making a fuck ton of money. It's not doctors who are making $500,000 a year that can benefit from that, because all the work that goes into having to buy a house in another state, become a resident of that state, have your legal and accounting teams doing your tax paperwork where you might be earning income in California, but your permanent residence is in Texas.
Sure.
All of that stuff is incredibly complicated and expensive to hire legal teams and lawyers and accountants to do.
Yep.
So that's like prohibitive to someone who's just like your average millionaire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to really be making a lot of money
and
for that to make a difference.
You have to now just readjust your entire life to go live in Texas or Tennessee or whatever it is. And now you have to like that. And what if you don't? Then you just moved out. It's like if you already like where you live, like we do,
right, and
you're not making $50 million, I don't really see the difference.
Well, that's what it is. That, again, it's another thing that's like become a political conversation, right?
Yeah.
Where people are trying to give California a negative connotation because it has high state taxes. And there are parts of that I agree with.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to be driving on the highway knowing that California taxes its citizens so much, but they can't figure out what to do with the underpasses that have like encampments everywhere, and you can't figure out how to fix the fucking highway. And my car got stolen last year and I called the cops and then it took 35 minutes for them to get here.
Holy shit.
Like that stuff is frustrating as a citizen of this community.
Yeah.
Right? So there are parts of that I think everyone can kind of relate to, but it's like this pipeline into ideology that's not necessarily based in fact, because when you do the actual math, like the average individual moving to Texas is not really going to save that much money.
Right.
In their tax savings. It really only affects the real high income earners.
For sure.
And all of us want to act like we are that.
Yeah.
But most of us aren't.
Yeah.
So we have this conversation and it's almost kind of irrelevant.
It also just sounds like you're doing a smart thing, which people love to say, because people literally ask me that, like, yo, why don't you move to Texas? Like, there's no state income or no state income tax. And I'm just like, dude, you know what I fucking pay for state income tax?
Right.
It literally doesn't make a fucking difference.
Wait, when you run your own like small business, which is what we are.
Shit I'm writing off?
Yeah, exactly.
My state income tax, like I'm not thinking about that throughout the year. Like,
exactly.
Damn, my fucking state income tax.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. It's like people who are earning extreme amounts of money.
You deal with it, and I like living here. So that's all I need to... It can be as simple as that. I just like it. I like
exactly.
It's not...
And I think like 90% of the people who are saying that, exactly to your point, aren't really affected by it one way or the other.
Of course.
And so that's just the funny part of that conversation. But again, I get a lot of that stuff. I don't like the fact that California seems to be not managing their state government budget very well.
Yeah.
And overall, I think the state government for a long time in California hasn't been run very well. There's always been problems. But California is also like one of the best states to live in. It's beautiful, tons of, resources, tons of opportunity. So right now I like living here.
Yeah.
But I do think that we're, as a country, democratizing the opportunity a little bit more across the country. And I don't mean that from a political standpoint. I mean like, you can be in Colorado and do something creative, or you can be in fucking Austin, Texas, or Florida, or Massachusetts, or New York, or California.
Anywhere, yeah.
It's not just LA and New York anymore.
Yeah.
And Chicago.
Yep.
You can really be anywhere because all these businesses are all internet-based now. And it's not hard to hop on a fucking flight. You want to come, you're living in fucking Texas, you want to do the Cam Meekins show, you can hop on a flight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that crazy.
Take it out of what you're saving on state income tax. That's what your argument is going to be.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I could see myself maybe one day wanting to live somewhere else just to do it, because it's a beautiful country, man. There's a lot of cool places out here.
Yeah.
I love spending time in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I love it up there,
Yeah.
So, you never know.
Totally. That's exactly how I feel. I'm not married to it, but it's great for now. I have no plans of leaving. So
I've had this idea after the pandemic where I want to get like a fucking Montana ranch or some shit. Because this shit was pretty whack. You know, I mean, it would be pretty sick to have like a compound that you could pull up to if there was another year-long pandemic.
Sure.
Not on some doomsday prepper shit, but just on some like
you want to live there or just have
it.
Have it. So
and maybe you go there once a year.
Yeah.
It's a vacation crib, but it's also your pandemic contingency plan.
Yeah.
You know?
And that could be like a good like getaway. Like go there for a month and just record and don't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saves your like headspace and just because sometimes that helps a lot.
Well, I think we're human beings and we're like animals.
Yeah.
And we don't always need to be in like the just thick of it.
Right.
Like sometimes we need to be in nature and be chilling out.
Do you record here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you always record like basically
at home
by yourself?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I've worked in studios my whole career too.
Yeah.
But my comfort zone is recording myself.
Me too.
By myself.
Yeah, always. So
that's where I've made all my best music and shit like that.
For sure. Anytime I was ever in a studio session with like an engineer that we don't know or like even just like a big room, like it's just like this feels like fucking weird. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just I like just being like literally with the mic like this on an arm and just like recording.
Do you sit down while you're doing it too?
Dude, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
But there's also something to what you're saying of like getting in a different environment because you're able to have different ideas. Like like I'm looking at the same walls and like, you know what I'm saying all the time. Yeah. So like, even like I was saying, I went to Nashville, worked there for like a week. That was great. Like, I don't even know if we'll use some of that shit, but it gave me a different lens. And then we went to Atlanta for a little bit. I shot a video for the Music Soul Child record that I just put out. And then Steve, my roommate, did ThriftCon. So like we were there for a weekend. And that was just a good like headspace. Like when I came back, I was even only gone for 3 days.
Right, but when you come back,
when I came back, I was like, I got so much shit to say.
Exactly.
Like I always had that in me.
Got to step away to be able to come back stronger.
For sure. I love that.
Yeah. So now you're back in LA, after having kind of been away. Mm-hmm. And so where are you at creatively right now in terms of shit that you're working on? New project? You working on a new album or?
Yeah. So basically, the beginning of this year, I decided to because I was always in the mode of like dropping every couple weeks, collabing with whoever and just doing a ton of shit and just playing kind of that volume game. But I always felt like there was a ton of songs in there that got kind of neglected in terms of the way I was working them like after the fact because I was just always like on to the next one.
They were great songs that you think you could have pushed longer.
For sure. Yeah. So this year, basically what I'm doing is I'm rolling out my album all year. Just doing one song a month, and each song has a music video. Each song has like a specific merch piece that I'm doing. So it's like I do a merch drop every month. It's like only 30 to 40 are available, and they're kind of like a collectible almost. So because on tour, my merch was fucking crushing it like more than I thought it should have based on like what my actual draw was, which I was hyped about because that just means
if people like the shirt, dude, they'll be like, yeah, this shit, let me buy this.
And
I just met this guy or I just saw this dude perform and I want this shirt.
Exactly. So I always thought that was like a really strong suit in the way I like brand that and like package everything together because I do all the designs myself and it's really fun, honestly. So I was like, let me do something that's like limited and will happen often throughout the year because I'm not on the road, so I can still kind of use that muscle and give the people that want it new shit to be excited about all the time. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. So I'm like 4, or 5, 6, about to be my 6th single from the album. But now that I'm making it, it's like I know some of those songs aren't going to be on the album, but they still got that kind of just due of like I put time and money and effort into a visual that I think is tight and like, chopped it up a bunch of different times. I use it for Instagram Reels, for TikTok, for different ads, shit like that. So it's like I have more of a rollout each time I drop rather than just like throwing shit at the wall and just hoping people like it, So that's kind of what I'm working on. So I'm still working on the album. And at this point I have like 30, 40 records. So I'm just like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, to be honest, but there will be an album by the end of the year. I got the title. I got everything. Everything's coming out. and I can kind of tell which ones are being received better and which ones fit together, and especially the way that it's like shaping in my brain, because I just always want to make a cohesive project. Like that's the most fun thing to me.
Well, that's what's cool too, is it's to roll it out over time but have it still be cohesive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it sucks that it's like, obviously it's not very discoverable that way if you just drop like a really good concept album. You know, it's just like,
well, that's the thing, man. Like, you know,
so
I dropped an album
like a hybrid almost.
Yeah. I dropped an album last year, and, you know, people loved it. My fans loved it. But I think the way that people consume music now is if you drop an album, Spotify pushes the one song that you tell it to push.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all cool, but there are great songs that, you know, algorithmically people don't get to listen to.
Yeah.
And the core fans listen to it.
It's just not in front of their face.
Right. It's not put in front of their face. The core fans will go and check it out. Mm-hmm. But, you know, all of us as consumers, I think, can admit that, like, you know, I have some artists that are some of my favorite artists. I don't listen to the whole album when it comes out all the time. There are some that I've done that.
Right.
Like Dave East.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big Dave East fan. I'll listen to the whole thing front to back. But that's like one of, you know, 20 albums that I like that have come out in the last year.
Even Dave East, like, just because you brought him up, there's fans that love Dave East, and they'll just be like, these are my 4 songs. I haven't heard the other ones.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, that's the thing that's funny about music, man. Music is a very passive art form.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch a movie, you're all in.
Yeah, you can't watch just the end.
On that movie for... Yeah, right.
Just be like, that's fucking sick.
Right, exactly. But an album is telling a story. It's telling a movie. Mm-hmm. But most people only consume the trailer.
Yeah.
You know, the single is the trailer to the album. Most people just consume that.
Yep. So that's kind of been my plan this year, is like still be able to like put everything together in a way that I think makes sense, and like do the album at the end of the year with like, you know, the hard copy, and like I'll do some sort of bundle that makes it feel more special and like a package, but just in a digestible way where I can really focus on one release each month. And I feel like those videos and doing the merch has like really given me its just due, at least so far. Like, people are really fucking like appreciative of like that type of effort.
I think what people care about now is seeing that you're taking some time to do something the way that you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Because there's just so much to consume now that unless you're putting time into it and that's clear, people are like, next.
Yep.
You know, swipe up.
Yeah, well, there's also, you know, I heard something that was like there's 40 or 50,000 songs that come out every day on Spotify.
That's crazy.
Across all genres, obviously, and, you know, some of them have one stream or whatever. But if you want to, you know, get pitched to an editorial or whatever, and that's obviously not the only goal, but if you want to stand out to whoever's listening to it, it's like, how do you separate yourself from like all those releases? Out of those 40,000, how many have a music video, right? Only, let's say it's 5,000, right? How many of those are actually fucking good? Maybe it's 1,000. You know, how many of them have, you know, this press written about it, or like this story, or like something interesting, or like a viral video, or maybe it's like fucking 2, and then it's like you won the day basically, and then that doesn't even maybe matter tomorrow. But
that's really interesting.
That's like kind of the way I've been thinking about it. So it's like I'm trying to do as much for this one release to be like, this week was like I stood out in the crowd, and then hopefully that will translate into more of my catalog streaming, and like if I have, you know, 4 of those throughout the year that killed it, I'm gonna have a good year.
I like that, because you're almost kind of gamifying it and making it a competition.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is, you know, to me, I love that, because, you know, everything can be a sport.
Yeah. And we grew up playing sports, so it's like, it's kind of how my brain works sometimes. Where it's like, because obviously it's one thing to speak to your audience, which I love to do, and I'm like very appreciative of like who those people are, and I've really learned that that's way more important than how we were saying any stream or numbers, metrics, or whatever the fuck you want to say, because it's just such a passive listenership. But like having that small community that, you know, rides for you and will always be there, and like to buy the t-shirt, to go to the show, to share it, whatever it is, that's way more important, and that's how you're gonna make, you're gonna create longevity for yourself.
Right.
So it's like, obviously I'm trying to speak to them, but they're already on board.
Yeah.
They love what we're doing. They are part of like.
Well, and they want to see you trying to achieve that growth too. That's the fun
Exactly.
thing to be along for the ride
Exactly.
on. Like I love following an artist who's pushing themselves to go to that next level.
Yeah.
Because that's a fun thing to consume as a listener, as a follower.
Yep.
Of creative people.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I've learned that through just watching certain cats and having them like surprise the shit out of me based on like what they can accomplish.
Yeah.
In related to like what the public would perceive them to be in terms of how big they are. You know what I mean? Like
in terms of just their financial success versus
like
their
you
niche.
guys are fucking killing it, and no one really knows who you are.
Well, that's that's
so sick.
No, that's what's so cool about that, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. With it's like we're in this new era where you can make a fucking really good living doing something great for a niche amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
You can get 1,000 people in on your shit, which is not that hard with the internet.
Yeah.
If you're talented,
Yep.
you can make a living, and then if you can get 10,000, you can make a really good living. And if you can get 100,000, you're fucking
You're
rich.
literally like you can do anything you want. You have all the freedom if you do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and whether it's people on YouTube or on Spotify
Mm-hmm.
or on TikTok, in the middle of fucking Ohio or in the middle of fucking LA, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You can do that shit now, and you can make a lot of money.
And that's a lot different.
Even if you're not an A-list celebrity.
Because to the general public, people see you got 100,000 streams on your song. So like that's what you're doing. That's not the same thing.
Right.
If you have 100,000 like diehard fans, you have 20 million on your fucking song.
Right.
Because it's a stream doesn't mean it's a fan. It's just someone that heard the song.
Right.
So it's like such a different thing. And I'm just really trying to focus and like double down and like bet on that community that I've built, even though it's small, but it's going to continue to grow,
And also too, it's like if you're just serving that community with great stuff, it grows organically from there.
Mm-hmm.
But two, it's just a great business for you.
Yeah.
Because
I control it.
You control it.
Yeah.
And those people are going to be with you as long as you keep going.
Yep.
And we don't all need to be, I was talking to Carter about this actually. Like, we don't all need to be the biggest fucking success in the world.
Yeah.
Because after a certain point, it's a diminished return in terms of like the happiness you get from the next level of success.
Yeah.
And so if you have that opportunity to make a really great living doing something creative, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's always going to be some of us, and I feel like you're one of these dudes where that's never enough and you want to keep going to the next level.
Of course.
And that drive is in you because you're competitive and you're on that mission and you've been on that mission. Mm-hmm. So I get that because that's my headspace too.
It's a double-edged sword, man.
Right.
Right. Because that's the reason why people get in that position in the first place.
Right.
But then it's just, how do I get to...
and that's where you got to have that balance between like, appreciating the success that you have had and the moments that you get to have in this journey. Like I've done so much crazy shit in my life, but every single day I still feel like I'm a piece of shit who hasn't accomplished anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's just not true. You know what I'm saying? But in your own head, it seems that
you
way.
can say that, but I still feel that way.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though I may have done, this thing or, had this crazy, memory or done something, whatever. It still feels like I want more, I want to do more. I want to reach more people. I want to do this. And it's hard to shake that. But I think for people like us who feel like that, you have to figure out a way to sometimes appreciate the moment.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next thing.
It's so
and
hard
be in that moment.
It's so hard to do that.
Right.
So I think that's something that I'll always be working towards, but maybe I'll never get there because it's just.
And for me,
I want to be better than I am. So it's like I don't want to ever stop for too long and be like, yeah, we fucking did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And maybe it's about being comfortable knowing that that's where you're always going to be and being like, I like that. I enjoy the fact that that's how I am.
That's kind of where I'm at.
And that's the beauty of the journey. It's like, I like being like that.
Because even just to make an easy example, we did a song together in 2013 maybe, 2014. And at that time, I'm fucking hyped that I have a song with Cam Meekins.
Right.
Because you were like the level above me, like how we were saying. Like
right.
you were the dude in Massachusetts you were on tour, you had a song with such and such, and you knew this guy, and I'm just some fucking kid in my basement. So we did a record together, and I'm like, this is fucking sick. I'm going to blow up, all this shit, right? So it's like, now I'm that dude for someone else.
Right.
But
there's someone in mass right now.
It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, right.
Ever.
Right.
And I'm sure at that time, you didn't feel like, yeah, I just made that kid's day. Like, it's just, no, we just did a fucking song, and
right.
dude, you did your job, but you're focused on how to get to what Big Sean is doing or whoever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, like, when it takes that long to get from where I was to where you were, and now I'm kind of in that spot, or however you want to look at it, each step is so little that you don't even realize, like, how far you ran. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, 100%. I'm sure you feel this way too. Like, even from the financial side too.
Yeah.
The more successful you get, the more you look back or you look forward and you're like, fuck.
It's all relative,
It's all relative. And so you got to find your happiness somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's not attached to that shit.
Nope.
And I never really thought that back when I was like really broke trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were just like, if I could just make $70,000,
it would be just life changing.
I'm fucking good. I'm not worried about anything.
And it's amazing to have your bases covered.
Yeah,
but
right.
Once they're covered, you're no longer thinking about that, and so your mind is consumed with other things that stress you out.
Yep.
And so you have to find that inner peace in other places.
Yep.
Because all money does is just make you not think about the money side of things.
It gives you access.
And when you don't have money, it's all you can fucking think about.
Yeah, it's such a crazy, like, complex thought.
It's all you think about, and then you get to a point where you don't need to think about it, but all that other shit still exists too. This has been a fun conversation, man. I appreciate you coming through to the crib, man. I know.
Absolutely.
You were just traveling and everything. I'm glad that we were able to get this fucking booked, dude.
Sure.
This is fucking sick.
It was fun, dude. I appreciate it. Always a good conversation.
Hell yeah.
I feel like we've never really hung out like one.
Yeah, I don't think we've chopped it up long form like this.
Yeah,
which again, that's what I love about doing this shit, dude.
Yeah, like we've been in group settings and like
so many
hanging
times.
out like dozens of times, like however, and how's it going? We say two things and then on to the next. But like
we've done so much work together. We've partied together. We've done shows together. We've been on. I
came to your video shoot.
Came to the video
all
shoot.
Types of shit.
Been living on the road. Living that like tour lifestyle.
But even then, like you were traveling separate,
right?
So like we didn't really
different camps.
Chill. Like it was like we did the show. Fucking dapped up,
right? But you might have been at the other
making
hotel.
jokes, and then we fucking move on.
Yeah.
So like, I love shit like this. It's almost just like an excuse to like do that and just kind of.
Well, that's what I love about this podcast, man. I mean, obviously, it's a business. I'm trying to grow this, for my brand and everything that I'm doing, and it's a new avenue that I'm going down that I feel like it reminds me of when I first started making music. It's like something that I'm trying to get better at each time that I come in the studio and do it.
Yep.
And I'm still working out the kinks, and I don't have the whole fucking thing figured out, and it reminds me of when I was like 17, going into the studio and trying to figure out how to do it. And that's how you plug in this fucking wire. And like, okay, dope. Like, that's sick.
Oh,
there's like a new thing that you get excited about every single time. That's how I feel about doing this podcast. And I can feel myself getting better each time, getting more comfortable each time.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really exciting. The opportunity that there is to grow this for my business and as a part of my brand is exciting. But there's also a tangible value to just the human aspect of it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Being able to connect.
It's a win-win for you.
Yeah, like, like we are now closer having done this podcast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see you out now knowing that we had an hour and a half long conversation, and I know your story a lot more than I ever have.
Right, for sure.
And so that's, that's love. And that has a very tangible value that could correlate to, more success, more money.
True. Yeah.
And that's what you have to understand about the world, man.
Because now,
it's not like
you're
one thing
in the front of my brain if like something comes up and vice versa, like there might be an opportunity. I'd be like, yo, Cam would kill that. Let me connect the dots.
Right.
When if maybe we didn't do this,
right,
I wouldn't have thought about you right away because it's like, yeah, Cam's like my boy, but like not really. Like, I'm not gonna reach out.
Haven't
to him.
talked to him in a while. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know
exactly.
And that's the weird thing about being in this world, because people will be like talking about this dude. And I'm like, bro, yeah, that's my fucking guy. And then you think about it, and you're like, I've literally never talked to that dude. Like we follow each other, we say what up, we know each other's work, and like we have mutual fans or friends. It's literally not your boy. Like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, but I mean, we're a little different because I've known you for a long time.
We have the Massachusetts connection too, which I feel like that's the one thing that's interesting about, like, there's a lot of artists that came from Massachusetts that are now out here.
Yeah.
And whether or not all of us are like best friends.
Yeah, yeah.
There's, first of all, that mutual respect.
Right.
From a, just career standpoint.
You're doing it. Like,
yeah. And then it's just that love of like, this is a local dude who comes from the same place that I come from. Mm-hmm. And so I want to see this dude win.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
The same exact way, yeah.
And,
always. Anybody that played the Middle East as many times as we did,
yeah, right.
You better fucking do something. Like, I'm rooting for you.
Exactly. I mean? Yeah. Open door for anybody that's played the Middle East to come on the Cam Meekins show, man. But it's great. It's just so weird because like before this, like I would consider us like friends, Right.
But it's like you said, we've never really got to sit down and chop it up.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I'm sure you have dozens of these that are just gonna tighten your relationship on
100%.
some scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and that's so dope, man. And if that's the only thing I get out of this, that's still fucking sick.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's such a net positive for me in my life, in my business, and anything else. Mm-hmm. And so that's that's a good takeaway, I feel like, from this conversation is like you got to do things in your life. You got to put yourself in positions where things can happen. Luck, betting on people that are in motion. Mm-hmm. That whole thing.
Just stay in motion.
Just stay in motion.
Yeah.
That's what
this is creating motion for you and others. That's great.
It's all about the motion in the ocean.
So I've heard.
Man, Dylan Reese, this was a good combo, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man.
Congrats on the new tattoos, by the way. Looking dope.
Thank you.
Is that Kobe? That's dope, man.
It's Kobe Bryant. I'll have these forever, hopefully.
I think so.
Unless they're fake.
Yeah, it could be one of those sleeves that you just...
I would be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
They were expensive if I did that.
That's true, though, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that, are in that category for me where it's like, oh, that's my boy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's my boy.
I guess it is.
It is. Like, the love is there.
I know him.
But...
a little.
Yeah, you might not have had any long-form experiences with that person.
Yeah. Like
that's the social media age that we're kind of in right now.
Yeah. It's so fucking weird because even like my boy Dan, I just moved in. He moved in January. He's not in the music industry. He's just a homie that I've known for a long time, and he's like a music fan and whatever. We'll talk about certain shit. I'm like, it's my fucking boy, and he's like, for real? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I met him at this thing, and he's like, you can call him up right now. I'm like, fuck no. So I'm like, oh, it's actually not my boy.
Yeah,
like your boys are like someone that you could be like, come fucking play basketball with us and or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to his wedding type shit.
No, totally. But I also love the fact that it's like, when we're in this like music world too, that level of like, oh, that's my boy, even if you don't really know the person super well, because it's like a mutual respect type of thing for like, you're an artist, I'm an artist, like that's dope. Like I saw fucking like Marky Basie at Whole Foods like a while back.
Yeah.
And I don't know him that.
Yeah.
But we've hung out a couple times, I like saw him.
You would know each other if you walked by.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it was like, bro, good to see you, man. Like, and I enjoy interactions like that.
Me too.
Because I'm a people person.
Sure.
So even if I don't know someone super well, I'm trying to treat them as if they're my boy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But there's always that little piece of me that worries about like, is this dude thinking that I'm just like trying to like be his boy because he can, do something for me or I can do something for him. And like, that's never the way I'm thinking about it. It's just like, you're like-minded and we're doing the same shit. And like, we literally know who each other are. So like, might as well say what up and like have a conversation. Maybe it's only going to like help somebody.
Right.
Whether it's like completely one-sided or not. It's like, why wouldn't we work together? Like that's how everything fucking happens.
Well, and that's where it's like, it's, I feel like, especially when you're dealing with people that are really successful too, I feel like the number one thing to do when you see someone that you kind of know that's like really successful, like successful people are getting bombarded all the time with, can you do this for me? Can you do this?
Right.
Their phones are constantly ringing. People are asking of things for them. They want them to show up to their party. They want this and that and that. You know, it's all about just tapping in and just being like, bro, love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or like, you know,
I don't need anything from you.
Right. Just, you know, stay killing it, bro. Like, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
It's good to see you doing well. That's it. No shit. Hop on this track, or you know what I'm saying.
Bro, you're doing too much right now,
right?
You know,
and because that stuff, when you come at it with that energy,
yeah, you're fucking screwed.
Well, and like if you are just truly just adding value in the form of like just having a positive interaction and not asking for anything,
sure,
then you know everything's gonna work out in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I just never want to be that dude that's
right.
like, oh, what up, bro? I seen this and that, and then it's like, you know, next day, text it. Yo, what do you think about doing this and that?
Right.
It's like,
right,
all right, man, you're doing too much right
yeah.
now. You know, so I've
it's a weird world to navigate.
Saving the ask if there is ever going to be one, and
right.
I always am hesitant when it's someone that I actually know, but at the same time, like I'm not, because I'll fucking let it rip. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all about knowing when to ask.
Totally.
And if you just come at someone with an ask without having provided any value, and the value could be as simple as like, good to see you,
mm-hmm.
and nothing more,
mm-hmm.
and just having good energy around a person
mm-hmm.
for a long period of time,
mm-hmm.
and then coming in with an ask. But if you're silent with somebody, you know what I'm saying, and then come in with an ask, maybe they're going to say, yeah, maybe they're not though, you know? And so it's all about when do you come in with the ask, because there's nothing wrong with asking. And I think any successful person would agree with that, because anyone who's had success has asked for things and tried to take things to the next level. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. We all understand that.
Yeah.
But it's about how you maneuver in that world and make it feel like you're giving more than you're getting
right.
in a situation. And so therefore someone is willing to, you know, answer your question, give you that ask, because you've set it up in a way where it feels mutually beneficial.
Yep. Right. I've also kind of struggled with like that and being like shying away from it, because I don't ever want to be like, feel like I'm asking for too much.
Right.
And the concept of like, you can't get what you don't ask for.
Right.
Because I feel like I've had a ton of success with that. I'm also someone that is rare in the music industry from what I've seen in the way that I will absolutely tell someone no and not be like, I don't fuck with you anymore. I just like, no, I don't want to do this. It doesn't make sense for me. And that's just what it is.
Right.
And I also can receive a no and not be sensitive and be like, oh, he hates me now. Or like he, you know, thinks I'm fucking weird. Or
right.
It's just like, if I ask for something and someone says, I'm going to have to pass on this, like keep grinding, it's like, great. Like that's 100% fine.
Well, and I think the very fact that you think about both sides of it,
yeah,
the fact that, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take and you got to ask,
yeah,
and then the fact of like, I don't want to be too pushy in a situation, that's the perfect place to be, because you're leveling out, and so therefore you're still moving forward and you're trying to make things happen, but you're not forcing the issue, which can hurt you in the long run. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that balance is so key in our life.
Sure.
In what we do, which is network and relationship based a lot of the time.
Yep.
You know, managing your relationships and managing your network is one of the most important things that we can do as entrepreneur type people.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So no, I totally hear you, and I feel the exact same way. And I think through that, and I think also what you're saying, your ability to understand that, like, you know, an answer is just an answer. There's nothing personal or emotional attached to it.
But I always feel like people are like fucking mad or like pissed or like afraid to be like no, and they'll just not say anything.
Most people are not in control of their emotions.
Shit is fucking insane to me. It's like, yo, you can just tell me no. I'm not gonna cry, dude.
Right.
Instead of just not answering or like beating around. Oh, I gotta ask my manager, and when knowing damn well they make that decision.
Right.
Just tell me no, bro. It's fine.
Yeah.
I still like you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
right. We can just have a adult conversation about it. But it's tough for a lot of people to do that. And I struggle with that in different parts of my life too.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. But this is what we do. We talk through it.
I'm sure you've asked for a feature from somewhere.
For sure.
Whether you even knew them or didn't or whatever,
Right.
and have gotten nothing back.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why couldn't you just tell me no?
For sure.
And that's fucking annoying, right?
Right.
I would absolutely always rather hear. I would rather you go, I don't want to do your song. I think it fucking sucks. You should quit music. I would rather someone tell me that than say nothing. Because then I'm like, did they even get this message? Did they change their number?
Yeah, right. I'm going to keep trying.
Should I follow up
Yep.
in 2 weeks?
Yep.
You just tell me what it is, dude.
Yeah, and that's true in everything in life, too. It's better to just be transparent from the jump.
Absolutely. I really pride myself on the fact of, like, if you ask me a question about something or ask for something, like, I'll tell you one way or another. I'm not going to not answer. I promise.
Yep.
Like, if there's anyone out there that has asked me for anything and I didn't answer, you're lying. Or
hit him in the comments.
Text me again, like, because I don't do that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, I get that, man.
Because then it's like, if I want something, like if I want to ask you for something now, and I just left you on red for fucking 8 months, now I'm a dickhead for asking. You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
Entering another conversation, and the whole point is to keep that dialogue alive.
Very true.
Whether it's for the better or for the worse.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it's like the people that I feel like I've stayed the closest with and had a working relationship with. Whether, you know, like even like Futuristic, I do like a ton of graphic design stuff for him and Indie Amplify. You know, we did shows together. He hopped on my last project. He did the remix that you were on. Like we've worked together in so many different ways and just like collabed and like, you know, paid each other for certain services or like traded favors or whatever. And it's like, that's fucking dope. Like we're literally helping each other take a step forward.
Well, it's creating a little micro economy.
It's fucking dope. Like that's what you should be doing.
Exactly.
I just don't get
That's what it's all about, man. Community.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't get when people don't look at it that way. When they just want to be like in their own
I think
way,
sometimes people either are just not realizing it or they're thinking that it's, you know, it's like something that it's not, or they're just not understanding what you're talking about, which is that everybody should be able to eat together.
Sure.
Because there's enough for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's enough for all of us to succeed in this world.
Absolutely.
And having that open line of communication.
Like I've mixed a record for somebody, right? Like a client that, you know, I have that relationship with. I'm their mixing vocal engineer.
Right.
And they'll be like, yo, do you have any ideas for a feature on this song?
Right.
I'll literally throw alley-oops to whoever. Like,
yeah,
you should get, you know, Abstract, or you should get Futuristic, or whoever it is that I know personally, and I can just text them and be like, hey, I'm not getting shit out of this, but you want this? Like,
do this feature. Yeah.
It's fucking how much ever money literally to rap. And then that person gets what they need. This person gets what they want. I'm the dot that connected both. And it's like, I've helped both parties.
And that leads to way more.
Absolutely. Than trying to be like, well, I need a cut of this. And it's like all this extra weird shit.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just being in motion because it comes back to you.
Just help each other. Like, that's the point. We're all fighting the same battle, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know. I could go off on a tangent on that, so let me not do that.
That's what we do, man. I hear that. I hear that. But no, it's the theme, I feel like, of this show has been the motion aspect and, you know, all that stuff. And that's another example of it, man. You know, just making good relationships, good connections, providing services, having this kind of closed loop situation with people. And it's like this own little, you know, economy where everyone's able to like make a living and create and do great stuff and add value to the world. And that's what it's all about, man. So
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you coming on, bro. This has been a lot of fun, bro.
Anytime. Thank you, brother.
It's the fucking Cam Meekins Show. Dylan Reese.
Let's go.
Where can people follow you on social media?
At Dylan Reese Music, anywhere. Make it nice and easy. Dylan Reese on Spotify, Apple Music. YouTube's the same. I got a ton of music out. If you like anything that I've said, shoot me a message. I'll holler back.
Yes, sir. We'll put the links in the description. Dylan Reese.
Thanks, man.
Peep that new shit. It's the Cam Meekins Show. We out of here. Peace.